Chapter 71: A Severe Beating. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There's a situation ahead, Xiao Ze's voice sounded, and the three women became alert. Don't be wary, it's a freshman team. Xiao Ze explained and asked them to relax. Regarding the new team, they have had some contact with them in this short period of time, and most of them are dejected. The arrogance and vigor that had passed through the inner court selection competition and successfully entered the inner court were wiped out by this small fire energy hunting competition. However, in Xiao Ze's soul perception, this new team is somewhat special. Entering the forest clearing, 5 freshmen were leaning miserably on the tree trunks, repairing them. Sensing the arrival of someone, the freshmen immediately picked up the weapons around them, feeling like they were all under attack. Seeing the familiar face, one of the freshmen exclaimed, "Classmate Xiao Ze. What's wrong with you? Have you encountered a monster? Why are you so miserable?" Xiao Ze frowned slightly. In the final analysis, the fire energy hunting competition is just a trial between students, and generally they would not resort to such heavy-handed tactics. Upon hearing Xiao Ze's inquiry, a look of anger suddenly appeared on the face of the freshman. "Classmate Xiao Ze, you must be careful. The group of old students in front is ambushing the freshman group. He seems to be the guy who was deducted 5 points of fire energy by the elders at the entrance before, which made him resentful and specially ambushed the freshman team at key points. Not only did they attack us very harshly, but they also insulted us verbally." Another freshman couldn't help but said, his eyes full of anger. After Xiao Ze heard this, he looked at the miserable injuries on their bodies. "It seems that this senior is a little unkind. He doesn't treat us as people from the same college at all. In that case, I won't hold back anymore. Don't worry. I will repay him double the amount of damage he caused you." Xiao Ze leaned over, gently patted the excited freshman, and comforted him. "You guys will rest here for the time being. The fire energy hunting competition lasts for 7 days. There is still a little time, so don't rush." After Xiao Ze finished speaking, he waved to the 3 women. The 4 of them disappeared into the forest under the adoring and grateful eyes of the 5 freshmen. In a forest, 5 old students counted the fire energy on the crystal cards with joyful expressions on their faces. "It seems that the ambush here is really effective. Those freshmen are already weak, and we used an ambush to attack them. The effect is outstanding. This fire energy hunting competition has yielded a lot of rewards. But, Lao Mei, you better keep your mouth shut. If you have such a bad mouth, I can't help but beat you." That's right, those freshmen are not always weak. Once they enter the inner courtyard, they will adapt to the inner courtyard and they will most likely come to trouble you. The young man who was persuaded by everyone shrugged indifferently and said with an arrogant expression, "They are already 2 years behind me, and the gap is not that easy to make up. If you dare to trouble me again, I don't mind teaching them a lesson again to let them know the power of Liu Qing." Suddenly the trees stirred, and Lao Mei immediately looked at the trees, a trace of greed flashing in his eyes. "The prey is here again. Let's bring 2 more teams to make up for the 5 points of fire energy that were deducted from me by the elders. If you ask me, you really deserve it when the elder deducts your fire energy." A soft voice floated from the forest, full of irony. Lao Mei's eyes widened immediately, and when she saw the foursome appearing in the forest, a sinister smile appeared on her lips. "It turns out that it was you guys who caused me to have 5 points of fire energy deducted by the elders. Finally, you got it into my hands." Lao Mei drew out her long whip and said with a sinister expression, "Tsk. It's not like you have a bad mouth." Xiao Ze shook his head and said contemptuously, "There are few people who can make him feel so disgusted. Not only are they not strong enough, but they don't even have a good mouth. When he opens his mouth, he speaks dirty words. Humph, kid, I'll let you fall at my feet later and enjoy your painful cries." As Lao Mei spoke, he whipped out his whip suddenly, and the 4 old students behind him also followed the trend and took a step forward. This time, Xiao Ze did not use the poisonous power of disaster. Instead, his body flashed and he instantly broke through the whip's defense. He leaned close to Lao Mei and slapped Lao Mei on the cheek. As the face shook violently, several bloody teeth flew out of the mouth. Then he pulled back with his backhand like lightning, and a few more teeth flew out of Lao Mei. Before he could react, Xiao Ze kicked him in the abdomen, flew backwards and hit a tree, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. The confrontation lasted only in the blink of an eye, and the four old students looked at Lao Mei's miserable end. Momo took back the step he took, seeing Xiao Ze looking at them. The four old students all trembled. "Junior, if you have something to say, please say it, don't get excited." That's right, we are all students in the inner courtyard, why bother?" "Really? I was not like this before I met you." Xiao Ze chuckled, not having a good look on these four guys who acted according to the circumstances. "Hand over your fire energy card obediently. If you want to avoid a severe beating, give him a severe beating," Xiao Ze said indifferently. "This." The four people looked hesitant. Xiao Ze did not give them a chance to choose. In the next moment, he kicked another old student in the abdomen. It hurt so much that he held his abdomen and fell to the ground. "I didn't give you a chance to choose. I want you to execute it." The other three senior students threw down 3 crystal cards and rushed to Lao Mei. Lao Mei's mouth was swollen and he couldn't speak. In his horrified eyes, the 3 punched and kicked him mercilessly. When the senior student who fell to the ground saw Xiao Ze looking at him, he also threw down a crystal card and half-climbed to Lao Mei to kick him twice. He didn't dare to hesitate anymore. This guy looked very kind, but the kick just now made him wonder if his internal organs had been ruptured. Amid Lao Mei's crying, Xiao Ze transferred the fire energy on the crystal cards to his own cards one by one. "Don't forget to take that guy's fire energy card after the fight." Xiao Ze shouted to the chaotic battlefield over there. The other 4 senior students shouted hurriedly, fearing that they would be beaten up by Xiao Ze again if they didn't speak. It was not until Lao Mei's scream stopped that Xiao Ze asked them to stop beating him. As expected, he was already unconscious. Taking the bloody crystal card, Xiao Ze did not hesitate at all, and scratched the fire energy on it onto his own card, and threw it back to them. "Don't always think about bullying those freshmen. If you really want to bully freshmen, I can also play with you. After all, I am also a freshman." Xiao Ze said in a warm tone. The 4 old students hurriedly shook their heads and said, "Don't dare, don't dare." After Xiao Ze and others left, the previous team of freshmen appeared in the clearing in the forest. Seeing Lao Mei's miserable appearance, it was even more serious than theirs. Even if the 4 old students hadn't told them, they wouldn't believe that the inhuman thing on the ground was Lao Mei. The freshmen saw the fear in the eyes of the old students, and they were so happy in their hearts, and all this was brought by Xiao Ze. Seeing them so miserable, the freshmen no longer had the idea of revenge and continued to rush to the end of the forest. I beg all readers to click and read. I now recommend you to read the whole book. Please move your hands and scroll to the last page of the book. Thank you very much. Thank you for the monthly ticket support of Fantasy Hometown. Chapter 72 Famous in the Inner Courtyard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the pile of rocks outside the forest, many old students were watching the excitement. They were all old student teams eliminated by Xiao Ze. When they looked at each other, they all had a sense of mutual sympathy and sympathy. Bai Feng, who was sitting cross-legged on the stone platform, frowned slightly when he saw the 7th team coming out of the forest. His evaluation of Xiao Ze's strength rose a few points. But it made no difference to him, because his own 3-star Dou Ling strength had already opened up a fundamental gap with other old student teams. The more old students Xiao Ze defeated, the more he would be able to achieve his own reputation when Xiao Ze was defeated by him. On the other side, there was a sudden commotion from the old student team. Bai Feng couldn't help but look over. I saw 4 old students carrying a guy who looked like a human on a stretcher, walking out of the forest. Hey, isn't this Lao Mei? Has he been trampled by the monster tide? Why is he so ugly? Although the old students could hardly identify Lao Mei from his face, but his teammates and others could still identify him, they deduced that the person lying on the stretcher was Lao Mei. Seeing Lao Mei end up in such a miserable state, some people immediately mocked him. It can be seen that his reputation in the inner courtyard is not very good. He can only get along in the inner courtyard because he is a little bit stronger. Oh, don't mention it, we met that monster freshman this time. He is extremely cruel, that the old student who was kicked by Xiao Ze before said. holding his stomach. Damn, is it true? Is it that boy who looks a little young? Impossible. Apart from threatening with words, he didn't really fight with us at all, but just paralyzed us with that strange method. That's right, that freshman is terrifying, but he can't be so cruel, right? The eliminated old student team said one after another, with a look of disbelief on their faces. After all, they were all eliminated from Xiao Ze's hands, and they also knew about Xiao Ze's style of doing things. Why would I lie to you? Could it be that we caused this injury ourselves? That the senior students team still looked unconvinced, and some even rolled their eyes. Even if that young man did it, you must have done something that angered the heaven and the people first. After all, your popularity and reputation in the inner courtyard are not very good. Hearing this, many senior students teams nodded in agreement. Lao Mei's teammates originally wanted to instigate the senior students team and stir up hatred against Xiao Ze. Unexpectedly, they failed to steal the chicken and lost the rice, but their team was ridiculed. At the moment, they did not dare to speak again. After all, the other side had more people and more power. They carried the stretcher in disgrace and went to a remote place. They knew Bai Feng's strength very well. Even if it was that monster freshman, he would definitely not be Bai Feng's opponent. Since they could not instigate the senior students team, it would be nice to watch Bai Feng teach that monster freshman a lesson. Not long after, a team of all members wearing black uniforms came out of the forest. This caused a discussion among the senior students. Isn't that the Black Evil team? Even the Black Evil team lost. Isn't this natural? Anyway, I have experienced that guy's methods, and I think he may create a miracle. You mean to kill through the fire energy hunting competition by yourself? It is very likely. I think even if facing Bai Feng, who is a 3-star Dou Ling, that terrifying freshman can have a chance, and it is not impossible to defeat Bai Feng. The senior students discussed a lot. On the other side, a group of senior students who heard the news from the inner courtyard and rushed over to watch the show were also surprised that the Black Evil team was eliminated. After all, the Black Evil team and the White Evil team are the two strongest teams in the fire energy hunting competition. Now that the Black Evil team has failed, can the White Evil team defeat that terrifying freshman? In the past 2 days, the inner courtyard has spread the news about that terrifying freshman. He has a mysterious method that can instantly subdue the senior students. The strength is mysterious and unpredictable. Bai Feng sneered in his heart when he heard the discussion of those old students. He secretly decided to defeat the so-called terrifying freshman in the most straightforward way. Shatter all doubts. Xiao Ze looked at the number on his fire energy card, and a trace of satisfaction flashed through his heart. Nearly 400 fire energy. This is the result after they divided it equally. If he enjoyed it alone, the amount would be as high as an astonishing 1,500 fire energy. However, Xiao Ze knew that the fire energy cost was huge in the inner courtyard, and the more fire energy, the better. After dealing with the Black Evil team, it was time for the White Evil team. He walked out of the forest, and the slightly dazzling sunlight made Xiao Ze's eyes narrow slightly. Then he felt countless eyes cast on him. With the noisy discussion, Xiao Ze looked at the pile of rocks, the people that were either sitting or standing. Most of the eyes looking at Xiao Ze were full of awe. After all, none of the people sitting there were not defeated by his hands. On the other side were some unfamiliar faces that he had never seen before. They were wearing uniforms of various colors, and they should be the forces in the inner courtyard. Did those forces come here in advance to look for new students so that they could be recruited later? A thought flashed through Xiao Ze's mind. Just when Xiao Ze was thinking about a lot of things, Bai Feng, who was perched on the stone platform, pulled out a light yellow spear. Are you Xiao Ze? Xiao Ze looked at the other party calmly and nodded slowly. Just when Xiao Ze thought he was going to fight without saying a word, Bai Feng suddenly said, "The guy who took away my cousin Bai Cheng's opportunity." Bai Feng's words shocked 1,000 waves. Whether it was the old students team or the old students who came to watch the show, they couldn't help but look over. I was very interested in the opportunity mentioned by Bai Feng, and I was also curious about the conflict between them. I took away Bai Cheng's opportunity. It's a joke, I don't have any intersection with him. Xiao Ze shook his head, a little confused. At the same time, he looked around, wanting to see where Bai Cheng, the main person in the matter, was. Humph. I knew you wouldn't admit it easily. When I defeat you with this spear, you will obediently return the opportunity. Xiao Ze looked at Bai Feng, who was rushing towards him quickly, and couldn't help pressing his forehead. You might as well not say a word and just start fighting. Even more mysterious than the Riddler. Seeing the faint yellow fighting spirit glow on Bai Feng, he turned out to be an Earth attribute practitioner. It's just right to try the Xian level advanced fighting skill, Blue Sea Shock Wave. Bai Feng wrapped himself tightly with fighting spirit armor, although he didn't know what Xiao Ze's mysterious method was, but as long as all avenues were blocked and he was protected to the teeth, he could avoid being plotted against by Xiao Ze's means to the greatest extent. At the same time, Bai Feng's gun body also gathered heavy Earth attribute fighting spirit. He had already planned to defeat Xiao Ze in the most straightforward way. He used his Xian level intermediate fighting skill, Earth Splitting Gun. The old students around him also noticed Bai Feng's actions and exclaimed. Bai Feng actually used his strongest means, which is a Xian level intermediate fighting skill. Although Bai Feng doesn't seem to care about the new student, he is actually very afraid of him. Indeed, this new student gives me a very strong feeling. I can't see through him at all. I'm looking forward to it, that I'm asking all readers to read it. I recommend you to read it in full. Please move your hands and scroll to the last page of the book. Thank you very much. Thanks to the monthly ticket support of Stupid Kid Book Friend. Chapter 73, The Power of Earth Level Fighting Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Little Ghost, this fighting skill of mine is combined with the same source of fighting spirit. I have practiced hard for more than 10 years and it is extremely powerful. I advise you to surrender as soon as possible. Bai Feng couldn't see through Xiao Ze's trump card and sneered. Don't bother me, senior. I still have some confidence in my own methods. Xiao Ze laughed and his white and slender fingers quickly formed seals. As Xiao Ze moved, the energy between heaven and earth suddenly began to be violent. What's going on? A water attribute cultivator couldn't help but look around. Why did the water attribute suddenly become so violent? That this is completely different from the gentle and calm water attribute in his impression. At this time, the water attribute seemed to be provoked by something and began to become violent. He followed the induction and looked at the source of the violent water attribute, Xiao Ze's location. I saw that around Xiao Ze, a series of light blue energy that seemed to be real began to appear out of thin air. The energy was crystal clear, as if Xiao Ze was in the sea at this moment. What's going on? What kind of fighting skill did this freshman use to make the energy of heaven and earth riot? Finally, some students with deep backgrounds and extensive knowledge exclaimed. It is at least a ground-level fighting skill that can cause the energy of heaven and earth to riot. Ground-level fighting skill. But when they heard about the ground-level fighting skill, everyone looked at Xiao Ze in horror. Although there is only one level difference between the ground-level fighting skill and the mysterious level fighting skill, the difference between them is huge. The mysterious level fighting skill can generally fully exert its power with the power of the practitioner itself. But the ground-level fighting skill is different. Starting from the ground-level fighting skill, the practitioner can use the energy of heaven and earth to exert amazing power. One is personal power, and the other is the energy of heaven and earth. The comparison between the two is almost like the difference between heaven and earth. Although the mysterious level fighting skill is rare, which student who can enter the inner courtyard of Canaan College is not a child of destiny and has a deep background? Some people can always master a mysterious level fighting skill, but the earth level fighting skills are different. Among the students, no one has ever been seen to perform earth-level fighting skills. And now the freshman in front of them has performed an earth-level fighting skill. How can they not feel shocked and horrified? The three old men who were watching from a high place looked at each other, and the two elders looked at Hu Qian in surprise. Did you really not give him the complete earth-level fighting skills? Of course not. How could I make such a mistake? Hu Qian said immediately. However, he did not entangle with the two elders too much, but looked at Xiao Ze below with surprise. He murmured in his heart, no wonder you, little guy, can detect the problem with the fighting skills. It turns out that you can already display the power of the earth-level fighting skills. The fighting skills that the dean personally split are absolutely fine. After all, even the elders who practice the blue sea shocking waves in the inner courtyard cannot use the Xian-level advanced fighting skills to display the power of the earth-level fighting skills. The talent of the little guy is really terrifying. Hu Qian was deeply shocked by Xiao Ze's talent. As the energy of heaven and earth rioted, Bai Feng's face suddenly changed, and he couldn't help but have the intention of retreating in his heart. The movements of his hands were no longer crisp and neat, and even his gun skills seemed a bit dragging. Bang! A sound of waves like the roar of the sea rang in everyone's ears. Immediately afterwards, a huge wave appeared out of thin air and slapped towards Bai Feng. Seeing this power, Bai Feng couldn't hold the spear in his hand steadily. His body looked particularly small in front of this wave of waves. TSK. This little guy is a bit reckless. The power of the earth-level fighting skills, even the aftermath, is not something that these students of the great fighting masters next to him can resist, Hu Qian said, signaling the two elders to take action quickly. He spread out a pair of gorgeous fighting spirit wings and shot down violently. The two elders released a fighting spirit barrier to block the other students who were watching, and Hu Qian came to Bai Feng's side, grabbed Bai Feng's collar, flapped his wings and flew high, narrowly escaping the attack range of the fighting skills. Boom! The waves hit the pile of rocks. Those solid stones seemed to become extremely fragile in front of these waves, and were easily broken. As the waves completely descended, countless students felt their feet tremble, as if the earth dragon turned over. A large amount of water flowed with mud and gravel, rolling towards the forest below, knocking down all the trees. Seeing this scene that looked like a natural disaster, countless students swallowed their saliva, gratefully looking at the two elders who protected them, and looking at Xiao Ze on the field with some shock. Is this the power of the earth-level fighting skills? This is the fighting skills that use the energy of heaven and earth. Clang! The spear in Bai Feng's hand fell off and hit the pile of gravel below, making a crisp sound. He looked at Xiao Ze with a shocked face. If he hadn't dodged, he would probably have been shattered to pieces at this moment. Hu Qian slowly fell down, pretending to be angry and said, "You little guy didn't know the severity of the attack. What if you hurt other students?" Xiao Ze bowed his hands and apologized. The student knows his mistake. "Forget it, I won't do it again. After all, there are always accidents in battle." Hu Qian put Bai Feng down and took Xiao Ze's matter lightly. "Bai Feng, do you have any opinions?" Hu Qian asked after realizing it. Bai Feng's face turned pale and he shook his head quickly. How dare he have any opinions? If the vice president hadn't rescued him today, he would have died at the hands of Xiao Ze. At the same time, he cursed Bai Cheng in his heart. Why did he provoke such a strong man for no reason? "Don't worry. Senior Bai Feng, you haven't told me yet, what is the opportunity?" Xiao Ze smiled and said. Bai Feng quickly explained everything. "My cousin Bai Cheng said that you took his opportunity. A 7th grade pill, the Vajra indestructible pill." "Ah," Xiao Ze was stunned when he heard it. When did the Vajra indestructible pill become Bai Cheng's opportunity? The students watching around also exclaimed, 7th grade pill. Unexpectedly, it was the right time to come to watch the fire energy hunting competition today. All kinds of explosive materials are available. I just witnessed the terrifying power of the earth-level fighting skills, and heard about the opportunity of the 7th grade elixir. Xiao Ze glanced at the vice president, and when he saw the vice president nodded slightly, Xiao Ze began to explain. After all, the things in the library are confidential to the academy. It's nonsense. I don't know what hysteria Bai Cheng has. This 7th grade elixir is an opportunity in the library. Besides Bai Cheng rushing up to the elixir as soon as it appeared and being injured by the energy spread by the elixir, he has never had any contact with it again. If you say that taking a look is his opportunity, then this is too overbearing, isn't it? Bai Feng's face turned green and purple. He didn't think Xiao Ze would deceive him. After all, it was a matter of the library, and the vice president was in front of him. If Xiao Ze lied, the vice president would definitely scold him. Seeing the sarcastic and mocking eyes of the students around him, Bai Feng was very angry. He secretly decided to teach his stupid cousin a lesson. The two elders also came to Xiao Ze at this time and said with a smile, "Young people are formidable, Please read the book. I recommend you to read the book in full. Please move your hands and scroll to the last page. Thank you very much. Thank you for the monthly ticket support from Dou Po. Chapter 74. Don't worry. Keep the fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pfft. It turns out it's such a capture method. Isn't it so funny? Just look at the opportunity and it becomes his Bai Qing. Isn't this Bai Qing too domineering? Ha ha ha. Although people in the inner courtyard often tease others about being crazy, we never expected that a lunatic would actually come in. But it's true, as Xiao Ze said, the opportunities in the library are really enviable. There are even 7th grade elixirs. Yes. If I had known earlier, I would have tried my best to get into the top 5. The surrounding students were talking a lot, feeling funny about Bai Cheng's behavior. At the same time, I was also shocked by the heritage of Canaan College. There are even 7th grade elixirs in the library. Some former students regretted hearing this. It seems that a student who was once very close to the top 5 missed this huge opportunity. Countless students cast their eyes on Xiao Ze. This freshman looks a bit young, but he possesses Earth-level fighting skills and 7th grade elixirs. In addition, he has such terrifying strength. Just after entering the inner courtyard, easily defeat Bai Feng, a 3-star fighting spirit. If he is given a year, he will surely become a man of the hour. They could already imagine what a huge storm Xiao Ze would cause after entering the inner courtyard. A sentence could not help but emerge in everyone's mind. It's true, as the elder said, the future life is to be feared. Elder Lin said with a smile, even the Baisha team was defeated by this little guy like you. You have also set a new record in the inner academy, becoming the first student to defeat the entire fire energy hunting competition on your own. This fire energy hunting competition has come to an end. At this moment, Xiao Ze suddenly raised his hands and said, Elder, please wait a moment. Huh? Little guy, do you have anything else to do? Elder Lin said kindly. I would like to ask Senior Bai Feng and his team members to hand over the fire energy card. Elder Lin was stunned, looked at the elder and Hu Qian next to him, and couldn't help but laugh. This. Bai Feng's face turned gray and he was extremely reluctant. The other 4 team members also had unwilling expressions on their faces, but even if their faces are swollen, they don't dare to say I didn't lose again. After all, the power of that earth-level fighting skill has been deeply imprinted in their hearts. Humph. If you lose, you have to admit it. What? Only the old students are allowed to snatch the fire energy cards of the freshmen, but the freshmen can't snatch yours. Elder Lin snorted coldly, feeling very dissatisfied with Bai Feng's hesitation. Hearing the elder's cold snort, Bai Feng's body trembled slightly. With trembling fingers, he took out a cyan crystal card. The number above made the surrounding students look a little hot. It was 136. Bai Feng handed over the fire energy card with a face filled with pain. He had only obtained this card after fighting for a long time in the arena. Xiao Ze happily took the fire energy card and rubbed it hard on his black card. The number on the green fire energy card suddenly changed to 7. After receiving the green fire energy card, Bai Feng's heart was bleeding. If I had known earlier that I would encounter this kind of monster in the fire hunting competition, he must not have saved so much fire energy and would have replaced it with other elixirs or fighting skills. At this moment, all the accumulation of several months was gone. This can no longer be summed up by feeling distressed. My heart is bleeding. Xiao Ze took the fire energy cards from the other 4 people again and wiped off the fire energy on them one by one. Seeing the sudden increase of more than 400 fire energy, Xiao Ze felt happy. Even if the team is divided equally among 4 people, each person can get more than 100 fire energy. Coupled with the previous accumulation, Xiao Ze and the 4 of them may not have to worry about fire energy in the next few months. I've got the fire power. Are you satisfied, little guy? Elder Lin said with a smile. Xiao Ze handed over his hand and thanked him. After all, even if Elder Lin ignored him and directly announced the end of the fire energy hunting competition, there was nothing Xiao Ze could do. Well, let your teammates come out and let them come and receive the rewards. Xiao Xun'er and the young medical fairy Han Yu caused an uproar as soon as they appeared. the eyes of many students were focused on them, and then on Xiao Ze. Looking at Xiao Ze's figure, why is he so enviable? He possesses earth-level fighting skills, 7th grade elixirs, and is accompanied by 3 peerless beauties. The 4 members of Xiao Ze's team each received a green fire energy card. Elder Lin also thoughtfully explained to Xiao Ze and others. Fire energy cards are divided into 5 levels, black, blue, green, red, and purple, which respectively represent the authority to enter the levels of the Tianfen Qi refining tower. The black fire energy card can enter the 1st and 2nd floors, the blue fire energy card can enter the 3rd and 4th floors, and so on. To upgrade from a black card to a blue card, you need 100 fire energy. To upgrade from a blue card to a green card, you need 200 fire energy. By analogy, you save 300 fire energy. Envy and jealousy flashed in the eyes of the onlookers. Most of them failed to possess the green fire energy card, and now the 4 freshmen who have just entered the inner courtyard can have something they have never had. How does this not make them feel envious or even jealous? In addition, each person will receive 100 days of fire energy, and Xiao Ze will receive an additional 100 days of fire energy. Elder Lin spoke slowly and said words that made all the students gasp. Each person will be directly rewarded with 100 heavenly fire energy. Xiao Ze even directly obtained 200 days of fire energy, in addition to the fire energy they had previously used to counterattack the Liaoxing team. The 4 students in front of them who have just entered the inner courtyard are already worth far beyond their reach. Elder Lin waved his hand, and 4 green fire energy cards were suspended in front of Xiao Ze and the others. There were 200 fire energy on the fire energy card in front of Xiao Ze. Okay, transfer the fire energy on your black fire energy card to the green fire energy card, and then return the black fire energy card to me. Xiao Ze and others quickly followed suit. Wait until the rewards are done, Elder Lin said to everyone. This fire energy hunting competition is over. The final winner is Xiao Ze's team. Come with me, little guy. I'll help you get settled, and I'll tell you about the rules of the inner courtyard. Elder Lin said to Xiao Ze and the other 4, while Elder Yen stayed here to wait for the other new students. Just when Xiao Ze and others accepted Elder Lin's settlement, huge waves had already been caused in the inner courtyard. As word spread among the old students watching the battle, Xiao Ze's name completely resounded throughout the inner courtyard. Earth-level fighting skills. 7th grade elixir. 1 person beats the fire energy hunting competition. Every topic among them can detonate the inner courtyard and make people envious, but it's all concentrated on 1 person. Let Xiao Ze's name be heard among all new and old students, except for some students who are practicing in seclusion. No one in the inner courtyard does not know Xiao Ze's name. Even some students who were on the top list also became interested in Xiao Ze. At the same time, some people also began to look forward to the battle with Xiao Ze. After all, how could such a monster have no interest in the strong list? As Xiao Ze set off discussions in the inner courtyard, some people related to Xiao Ze also received attention. For example, the 2 brothers Bai Feng and Bai Cheng enjoyed the same level of discussion as Xiao Ze. However, most discussions about Xiao Ze are filled with envy. The 2 brothers were mostly ridiculing and sarcastic. I beg all readers to read it. Now I recommend you to read it all. I beg you to use your little hands and pull it to the last page of the book. Thank you. Chapter 75, Building a Power. Future Plans. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Squeak. A wooden door was slowly pushed open, and Elder Lin introduced the 4 people. The attic here is your residence in the inner courtyard. It has separate rooms, training rooms, and other complete functions. The inner court is different from the outer court. The competition here is more intense. You will be at a disadvantage if you are alone here. Since the 4 of you already have the friendship of a team from the fire hunting competition, you might as well work together and become a small group. Elder Lin rambled on, talking a lot about the rules of the inner courtyard, and also gave his own pertinent suggestions. Thank you, Elder Lin, for clarifying my doubts and enlightening me. Xiao Ze handed over his hand and thanked him. With your cultivation speed, little guy, I'm afraid you will be able to reach the position of elder in less than a year or two. By then, you and I will be on the same level. Elder Lin said with a smile. He was very optimistic about Xiao Ze's potential. Even before Xiao Ze actually became an elder, he already regarded Xiao Ze as a person of the same level. In addition, there were no outsiders around at this time, so he spoke frankly. The expressions of Xiao Xun'er and little medical fairy didn't change at all. There Xiao Ze had absolute confidence. Han Yu looked at Xiao Ze in surprise. She only got closer to Xiao Ze after she passed the inner court selection competition. I don't know Xiao Ze very well yet, but now with Elder Lin's endorsement, Han Yu has a somewhat clear understanding of Xiao Ze's future. The lowest is at the elder level. Okay, then you should tidy up first, and then take a walk around the inner courtyard to get used to the cultivation atmosphere of the inner courtyard. Elder Lin, walk slowly. Xiao Ze and the other two watched Elder Lin leave and each chose a room on the second floor. It was getting late, and Xiao Ze and others gathered again in the hall downstairs. After Elder Lin and Senior Han Yu clarified their doubts, our understanding of the inner courtyard is no worse than those of the old students. We must make a decision now. Xiao Xun'er said with a smile. Should we establish a force? That the little medical fairy nodded her lips and frowned slightly. As the owner of the evil body, she has always been used to living alone. If she hadn't met Xiao Ze and become Xiao Ze's partner, I'm afraid she would still be alone at this moment. She is still a little resistant to establishing a force. However, seeing that Xiao Ze had not expressed his stance, the little medical fairy did not speak. Han Yu was stunned for a moment. With a look of struggle on his face, during the fire energy hunting competition, she benefited from Xiao Ze and gained a lot of fire energy. If Xiao Ze wanted to build a force, she would certainly not be able to do anything else. If this was the case, she would have to make an agreement with her tribe in advance not to join the forces formed by her tribe. Xiao Xun'er's sudden question made the two people present show different expressions. Xiao Ze took in everything and made a decision in his heart. Forget it. I'm used to being alone and building a force. There's no big need. I can't even take care of my own cultivation. I don't have the leisure to manage the force. After listening to Xiao Ze's words, the little medical fairy's brows relaxed. Han Yu also breathed a sigh of relief quietly, but for no reason. She felt a little disappointed. Maybe it's because he won't be able to see Xiao Ze frequently anymore. After all, if he joins the force formed by his tribe, he will definitely not be able to live in the same attic with Xiao Ze. In addition, each other usually has to practice, so there are even fewer opportunities to see each other. Since brother Xiao Ze has decided this way, then so be it. Xiao Xun'er had no objection. If Xiao Ze wants to form a force, she will of course assist Xiao Ze in managing it, but if Xiao Ze had no such intention, Xiao Xun'er would not force Xiao Ze. However, the advice of the elder in the inner courtyard still has merit. If you go alone, you may not have an easy time in the inner courtyard. Han Yu said with some worry that she planned to join the force formed by her own tribe. After all, this was agreed upon before she entered the inner courtyard, and it was hard for her to break the promise. Han Yu found her own destination, but began to worry about Xiao Ze and the others. Don't worry, Senior Han Yu, fighting alone is indeed a disadvantage, but that's only under normal circumstances. Xiao Ze said confidently, but as long as the strength is strong enough, you can avoid these troubles. After all, Senior Han Yu said that there are many people who work alone on the top of the list. Then I'm worrying too much. Han Yu said with a smile. She had no doubts about Xiao Ze's words. The mystery and power Xiao Ze showed was enough to explain everything. Senior Han Yu has gone somewhere, right? Xiao Xun'er suddenly spoke. Han Yu was stunned. She hadn't explained yet, so why did Xiao Xun'er already know about it? She looked at Xiao Ze and the little medical fairy. Finding that the two of them also looked calm, she couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. Am I being that obvious? Indeed, it's a bit obvious. Xiao Ze nodded and said. When Xun'er proposed forming a force just now, everyone could see the hesitation and struggle in Senior Han Yu's eyes. Xiao Ze, I have a request. Can you agree to it? Seeing that all three of them had noticed, Han Yu hesitated and spoke. Senior Han Yu, please tell me. The force I want to join is formed by my tribe. It has been agreed before. It is really difficult to evade it, but can I still live in this attic? Of course. I, Xiao Ze, don't own the attic here. Senior Han, you can live here as long as he wants. Xiao Ze said with a smile, making Han Yu breathe a sigh of relief and show a relieved smile. In the evening, the four of them went to the canteen opened in the inner courtyard and had a hearty meal to celebrate their victory in the fire hunting competition. On the way back, Xiao Ze looked at the numbers on the green fire energy card and couldn't help but sigh. In this inner courtyard, fire energy is really needed everywhere. They had a good meal before and spent several days of fire energy. This can be regarded as a way for the inner courtyard to recycle fire energy. In addition to the Tianfen Qi refining tower, there are many ways to recycle fire energy in the inner courtyard. There is no shortage of ways to obtain fire energy in the inner courtyard. If you are powerful like Xiao Ze, you can try it in the arena. Han Yu suggested after hearing Xiao Ze's emotion. Don't worry, I'll go to the Tianfen Qi refining tower tomorrow to take a look. This is the reason why the inner courtyard can cultivate so many strong men. I'm really curious. Xiao Ze said pointedly. He was full of expectations about what kind of benefits he could get from the Tianfen Qi refining tower. Returning to the small attic where the four of them lived, Xiao Ze came to the top of the attic. Xiao Ze lay on the roof, looking at the inner courtyard in the night. Except for a few places that were still hot, other places fell into silence. The inner courtyard is located in a basin. Surrounded by towering edges of the basin, Xiao Ze looked at the scene in front of him and knew that he would spend the next 1 to 2 years here. He doesn't have many goals in the inner court. First of all, one's own strength must be cultivated to the realm of Do Huang. The second step is to see if we can get the Earth's core body tempering milk. The Do Huang realm is the fundamental solution to the Xiao family's crisis, so it must be reached. Subsequent goals also require Xiao Ze to have sufficient strength to allow him to move freely, otherwise, Queen Medusa alone would be enough for him to drink a pot. I beg all readers to read it. Now I recommend you to read it all. I beg you to use your little hands and pull it to the last page of the book. Thank you. Chapter 76 Close Contact. Am I here at the wrong time? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Ze's goal at this stage is actually just to work hard to improve his strength, because many of the things he wants to do require strong enough support, whether it is to cut off the Soul Palace's covetousness of the Xiao family, or to develop the feedback system at a deeper level. Sufficient capital must be available. The goal he has set is to reach the Do Huang level in the next 1 to 2 years. Xiao Ze looked inside at the empty space inside his body. The golden tree grew vigorously and became more than 3 meters tall, not far from 4 meters. At this time, a slight movement sounded in his ears, and Xiao Ze turned his head to look. A pretty figure was already lying beside him. In the slightly dim night, the girl's pupils had a faint golden luster. Brother Xiao Ze, why did you come to the roof alone? Think about the future and set a goal for yourself. Xiao Ze reached out and touched the girl's silky hair. Then what is Brother Xiao Ze's future goal? Xiao Xun'er said playfully. She was also a little curious about Xiao Ze's goal. At the stage of cultivation in the inner courtyard, at least to the Do Huang level, right? Xiao Xun'er couldn't help but tilted her head when she heard the words. Her pretty eyebrows furrowed slightly. If Xun'er remembers correctly, the inner court seems to have a 5-year system. It takes 5 years to reach the Do Huang level. For ordinary people, it is indeed out of reach. It may even be impossible to reach it in a lifetime. But for Brother Xiao Ze, this doesn't seem to be particularly difficult, right? You little girl has full confidence in me. Xiao Ze said with a smile, but I don't want to stay in the inner courtyard for 5 years, at most 3 years. I will definitely reach the Do Huang realm. After all, if I really want to grow old with you hand in hand, but I don't have enough strength, I'm afraid everything I say will be considered delusional, right? Hearing this, Xun'er's eyes gradually became as gentle as water. It turns out that Brother Xiao Ze has been working so hard. Is it for me? Xiao Xun'er couldn't help but get close to Xiao Ze, close to Xiao Ze's chest, listening to the strong heartbeat, and the muffled sound came from Xun'er's mouth. Brother Xiao Ze, do you know? Well, I know that you have a mysterious origin and a powerful background. The obstacles for the two of us to get together will be very huge. But don't worry, I won't let you bear everything alone. Dou Huang is just the starting point. If it doesn't work, Dou Zong, Dou Zun, Dou Sheng. Even the legendary unreachable realm. Remove all obstacles that stand in front of you and me. Xun'er's cheeks turned slightly red as she listened to Xiao Ze's slightly excited heartbeat. Well. I have always believed that brother Xiao Ze can do it. Xun'er buried her face in Xiao Ze's chest, breathing in the familiar breath. Just when the two of them fell into silence and the atmosphere became slightly ambiguous, the sound of footsteps suddenly sounded. Ahem, it seems I came at the wrong time. The little medical fairy looked at the two people cuddling together and said with some embarrassment. Xun'er stood up with red cheeks. Although the three of them got along day and night, Xun'er still couldn't feel calm in front of the little medical fairy and being so close to Xiao Ze. Why does this sentence seem so familiar to Xiao Ze? No. You came just in time flashed through his mind, but Xiao Ze quickly dismissed this thought, because he noticed the wooden box held by the little medical fairy. This is a gift from a tutor in the inner courtyard. It is said to be a follow-up fighting skill, so you should practice it carefully. If you really can't do it, you should give up on your own. The little medical fairy said and handed the wooden box over, and Xiao Ze's eyes lit up, including the second half of the fighting skills. This is a complete Earth-level fighting skill. Compared with the Earth-level fighting skills he forcibly displayed, they were more worthy of the name. Of course, I don't want to make fun of my cultivation. Xiao Ze took the wooden box and sighed in his heart. Hu Qian was really ridiculously good to him. On the first day he entered the inner courtyard, he had already obtained the subsequent fighting skills from the Great Elder. He doesn't have to pay any price. After all, this is an Earth-level fighting skill. Even Earth-level fighting skills that have great side effects are still something that attracts countless people to risk their lives in pursuit of them. Okay, it's getting late, let's go and have some rest first. Tomorrow we'll explore the Tianfen Qi refining tower. After entering the inner courtyard, we can rest for a few days, and then we'll start practicing seriously. Xiao Ze accepted the wooden box and said to the two girls. The two nodded and went back to their rooms to rest. Xiao Ze briefly glanced at the subsequent fighting skills and felt happy. Its power is indeed worthy of being an Earth-level fighting skill. At the same time, he also understood why this fighting spirit would drain people of their fighting spirit and cause their cultivation to regress. The second half actually has only one core, and that is the superposition method. The core of the blue sea waves fighting skill is to simulate the waves of the sea one after another, one wave after another. The power will be doubled. Theoretically, unlimited superposition is possible, but in fact it is simply impossible. Even the Dou Huang level cannot bear the amount of Dou Qi required for several superpositions. Some elders misestimate the amount of fighting energy they need to consume when performing it, which will lead to the fighting energy being sucked out and even their cultivation level regressing. I'll try it another day. If it's really not feasible, then I'll put it aside and not practice for the time being. Anyway, I can still exert the power of the Earth-level fighting skills in the first half. The next day, Xiao Ze and the others walked to the north of the inner courtyard. They were not in a hurry, but were familiar with the inner courtyard as they walked. The sky-burning Qi refining tower has a fixed opening time. If you go early, you'll just queue there. It's better to wait until everyone has gone in before they go over. The inner courtyard covers a very large area, but there are only more than 1,000 students in the inner courtyard. Many times it will seem a bit empty and deserted. There were only some places where battles would occasionally break out, causing the surrounding students to stop and watch. Along the way, the four of them have seen no less than 10 competitions. However, there were some reasons for the discussion that made Xiao Ze dumbfounded. Originally, the two parties had no real intention to take action, but when Xiao Ze and his party came over, they saw 3 peerless beauties. As if to show their strength, they immediately started taking action. It's a pity that Xiao Xun'er, little medical fairy, and even Han Yu didn't pay attention to them. Those students showed their strength, but they were just showing it to the public. When the duel came out, the victor looked around, only to find that the 3 passing beauties had disappeared without a trace. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart, and began to ask around my companions. When did the inner courtyard have a beauty of this level? Those 3 are freshmen who just entered the inner courtyard yesterday, but don't provoke them. The freshman headed by them is known as a monster. Some well-informed people explained to him. TCH. No matter how many monsters there are in the new life, monsters can go anywhere. With the help of Tianfen Qi Refining Tower, I will be different from before. The man said, a little unconvinced, very confident in his own strength. The Earth-level fighting skills he displayed almost killed by Feng, a 3-star fighting spirit. What do you think? Can't afford to offend. Can't afford to offend. Along Xiao Ze's journey, discussions like this happened from time to time. Finally, the group of them stopped at a place where people gathered, and a black tower stood in front of them. Tianfen Qi Refining Tower, here I come, that I beg all readers to read it. Now I recommend you to read it all. I beg you to use your little hands and pull it to the last page of the book. Thank you. Chapter 77 Heartfire. Suppression by the Origin Tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey, is that Xiao Ze? Where is he? Let me see. Damn, it's true. He looks so young. He really has mastered the Earth-level fighting skills and defeated the 3-star fighting spirit with his own hands. Although it's unreal, I have to tell you that this is true. I saw it with my own eyes yesterday. The gap between people sometimes makes people feel desperate. As Xiao Ze and his group came to the vicinity of the Tianfen Refining Qi Tower, some students who were watching the battle yesterday also recognized Xiao Ze. A heated discussion broke out. However, it was not time to open the tower yet. Xiao Ze misjudged the time when the Tianfen Refining Qi Tower would open. On the periphery of the Black Tower, there was a circle of faint spatial folds, exactly the same as what he had seen in the library before. This is a spatial formation that only Dou Zun strongmen can arrange. It can be seen how much Canaan Academy attaches importance to the Tianfen Refining Qi Tower. Xiao Ze stood under the shade of the tree, feeling the constant gazes from all around, but didn't pay much attention, just look at it. Anyway, as long as they don't come to cause trouble, it won't cause any trouble if you look at it a few times. After all, Xiao Ze's record just after entering the inner courtyard was enough to scare away many old students. Even some old-fashioned forces in the inner courtyard, who were not strong enough, did not dare to provoke Xiao Ze. Generally speaking, a force with a dueling master is enough to be ranked second-rate in the inner courtyard. Only with multiple dueling masters can it be ranked first-rate, and those top forces all have strong masters on the strong list, or even the top 10 on the strong list. Each of them has the terrifying strength of the peak of dueling. From this, we can see how fierce the competition in the inner courtyard of Canaan Academy is. Only forces with peak dueling masters can be called top forces. Therefore, ordinary second-rate forces or even first-rate forces dare not provoke Xiao Ze. Dueling realm plus earth-level fighting skills are enough to scare them away. Melodious bells suddenly rang, and an old man appeared out of thin air in front of the tower. The old man looked around, his eyes vaguely, and stayed on Xiao Ze for a while. Immediately, an old and majestic voice resounded throughout the square. Open the tower. Xiao Ze and his 4 companions were not in a hurry, nor did they rush to line up. They still stood under the shade of the tree and chatted. When the crowd thinned out a lot, Xiao Ze walked towards the Black Tower. You little guys, are you the freshman winning team that has been in the limelight these days? As soon as Xiao Ze approached, the old man smiled and spoke. To answer the elder, if it is the winning team of the fire hunting competition, then it is us. Xiao Ze bowed his hands and saluted. Little guy, no need to be polite. Old Lin also told us about you yesterday. If I hadn't heard it from Old Lin, I really couldn't believe it. The old man said with a smile, while introducing himself. My last name is Liu, you can just call me Elder Liu. Do you know anything about the Tianfen Refining Qi Tower? I know a little bit. Xiao Ze thought for a moment and then answered, when you enter the Tianfen Refining Qi Tower for the first time, you will be burned by the heart fire. Yes, because it is the first time to be burned by the heart fire. You don't know how to dissolve the heart fire, you can only passively bear the burning of the heart fire. Elder Liu stroked his beard and explained with a smile. The longer you can bear it, the stronger your resistance to the heart fire is, and the more benefits you can get in the Refining Qi Tower. But there are risks in this. After all, it is not a safe behavior to have the heart fire burning in the body. Then we have to trouble Elder Liu to protect us next. Xiao Ze bowed and asked. Don't worry, little guys, this is my duty, I won't let you get into trouble. Elder Liu said with a smile, and let them start trying. Seeing that Xiao Ze and the other two did not move, Han Yu volunteered to enter the tower first. Soon Han Yu's face suddenly changed, and her body became a little stiff. Her originally fair face began to blush, as if there was a flame burning inside her body. Brother Xiao Ze, shall we go? Xiao Xun'er took Xiao Yixian's hand and stepped into the qi refining tower together. At the same time, she turned around and blinked at Xiao Ze. Shall we compete to see who can hold on longer? No, I might be the first to break free. Xiao Ze smiled and shook his head, following them closely. At the entrance of Tianfen Qi refining tower, 4 figures stood still. Elder Liu was watching on the side, with a smile on his face and expectations in his eyes. His eyes were more focused on Xiao Ze. What kind of miracle can this little guy who is highly expected by the outer courtyard create in the inner courtyard? There are also some old students watching the excitement around, who want to see how far this freshman, who is known as a monster, can go. As soon as Xiao Ze entered the qi refining tower, he felt a ball of invisible and colorless heart fire appearing out of thin air near his heart. However, Xiao Ze's soul perception was strong, and he had a strong control over his body. He discovered the heart fire as soon as it appeared. Although it was invisible and colorless, it was in Xiao Ze's body after all, so he could still roughly sense the shape of the heart fire. After rising, the heart fire began to grow wantonly, wanting to release its own power in this new body. However, before Xiao Ze could mobilize his fighting spirit, he passed through the heart fire for refining and extraction. In the void space, the golden tree trembled slightly, and a golden light shone through the void space, shining near the heart. Before the heart fire began to act recklessly, it felt like it had encountered some terrifying natural enemy, and instantly shrank into a ball. Under the continuous shining of the golden light, the heart fire even shrank into a small fireball. This sudden change made Xiao Ze stunned. Although this wisp of flame was a projection of the fallen heart flame, it was very weak, but even if he encountered it for the first time, he had to be in a hurry. Unexpectedly, it was directly suppressed by the origin tree. After all, weakness and strength are always relative. Compared with the fallen heart flame, this wisp of flame is so weak that it is unbearable to look at. But for the freshmen who have just entered the inner courtyard, who are still at the level of dosher and great dosher, it is a terrifying flame that is enough to cause permanent damage to themselves. Now that it was suppressed so easily, Xiao Ze was also a little surprised. At that moment, Xiao Ze had no intention of doing it himself. He wanted to see how the origin tree would deal with this fireball. Soon, under the traction of the golden light, the fireball was swallowed into the void space. Once it entered the void space, the fireball completely lost its resistance. 2 golden tree roots pierced through the void and inserted directly from both sides of the fireball. The Dou Qi in the origin tree followed one of the tree roots and suddenly poured into the fireball. The fireball, which was originally the size of a finger, instantly expanded to the size of a ball. Fortunately, the space of this void space is independent of his body. Otherwise, the suddenly expanding heart fire might cause damage to his body. The fireball formed by the heart fire was stretched into a ball, and the originally invisible and colorless flame was also rendered dark blue. As the light flickered, the heart fire tried hard to temper the Dou Qi that was poured into its body. It madly compressed its body size. After all, with a terrifying natural enemy, it dared not expand its body. As the heart fire worked hard to temper, a pure fighting spirit surged out from another tree root and returned to the origin tree. Please read on for all readers. I recommend you to read the whole book now. Please move your hands and scroll to the last page of the book. Thank you so much. Chapter 78 Liu Qing's Attention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as Xinhua finished tempering his fighting spirit and returned to the size of a thumb, he was filled into a rubber ball by a majestic fighting spirit. Xiao Ze's consciousness couldn't help but laugh when he saw this scene. Normally, the only thing that burns others is this inner fire. When has this inner fire ever felt so cowardly? I can only passively endure the infusion of fighting spirit from the roots of the origin tree, try my best to accommodate this majestic fighting spirit and refine it silently. The 2 tree roots have a clear division of labor. one instills the majestic fighting spirit, and the other absorbs the refined and pure fighting spirit. After the heart fire expanded and contracted for the third time, the energy contained in it was completely exhausted and disappeared. 2 golden tree roots waved in the void with dissatisfaction. After confirming that the fire in his heart disappeared, he reluctantly took root in the void again. Just when Xiao Ze was observing the scene in the void space, the onlookers around him involuntarily made way for a passage, and their eyes met a domineering figure. Liu Qing, aren't you in the arena? Elder Liu noticed Liu Qing's arrival and couldn't help but say, this was also the student who was in the spotlight last year. Elder Liu, luckily he had some insights after 10 consecutive victories in the arena, and wanted to come to the Qi refining tower for a breakthrough. Liu Qing said politely, the domineering energy in him has begun to take shape, attracting the attention of the surrounding students. Are you going to break through again? If I remember correctly, Liu Qing was already a 3-star Douling before, right? It can't be compared. It was only a year before he was admitted to the hospital. It's really a terrifying speed of cultivation. Liu Qing ignored the size of the students around him and instead focused on Xiao Ze and others. Is this the new student who has been in a state of rage in the inner courtyard these past 2 days? Exactly. Elder Liu replied, but his eyes looked at Xiao Ze with some uncertainty. Among the 4 of them, Han Yu behaved the most normally. It's the same as when ordinary students are suffering from inner fire, their bodies are stiff, their faces are flushed, and they look like they're in pain. But the other 3 are a little weird. The face of the girl in the white dress turned blue and purple for a while. But Elder Liu could tell that it was not a sign of a burning heart, but more like a poison. And the face of the girl wearing a light cyan dress was blooming with a faint light. There is no trace of the blush caused by the heat of the heart. It seems that there is a way to resist the heat of the heart. Among them, the one that Elder Liu found most incomprehensible was Xiao Ze. There was nothing strange about him, as if the fire in his body had never been ignited. If it weren't for Xiao Ze's stable aura, Elder Liu would have thought there was some accident that he couldn't handle. At this time, Liu Qing also noticed the situation of the 4 of them. Regarding Xiao Ze's abnormality, his eyes showed a bit of surprise. He also suffered a heart attack last year. It became even clearer how difficult it was to remain calm like Xiao Ze when faced with the flames igniting in his body for the first time. Even the girl in the light cyan dress behaved more normally than Xiao Ze, because a discerning person can see at a glance that this is a special method used to resist the burning of the heart. Just when Liu Qing was about to ask, he saw that Elder Liu also had a look of surprise and uncertainty. He knew that perhaps even the elders had never seen such a situation. Some attentive students around him also realized Xiao Ze's anomaly and started discussing it quietly with their companions. Xiao Ze saw that the inner fire was completely consumed and quickly checked the harvest. The fighting spirit in the tree of origin has become pure. At the same time, the tree of origin also grew taller. After all, it is just a weak inner fire, and the energy contained in it is only so little. For Xiao Ze, who is already a fighting spirit, it has little effect. There is no residual violent energy. This means that I can practice in the Qi refining tower for a long time without worrying about side effects. Directly draw the inner fire into the void space, so you don't have to worry about burning your internal organs in case of an accident. At the same time, the roots of the tree of origin are inserted into the heart fire, and the efficiency of tempering fighting spirit is also higher. Xiao Ze quickly summarized his findings. I feel that practicing in the Tianfen Qi refining tower will benefit me a lot. Immediately, Xiao Ze's mind exited the void space and slowly opened his eyes. He looked around, and sure enough, he was the first to break free from the burning pain in his heart. You're always so unique, little one. Elder Liu couldn't help but smile when he saw Xiao Ze, who had opened his eyes. Have you tried the benefits of inner fire? Elder Liu knew that Xiao Ze must have understood how to use heart fire if he broke away so quickly. It is indeed the most important place in the inner courtyard. There are many benefits to practicing in the Qi refining tower, and students have already tasted the benefits. While Xiao Ze was chatting with Elder Liu, he was paying attention to the situation of Xiao Xun'er and the others. He recognized Liu Qing at a glance. After all, this is probably the only student in the inner courtyard who has the domineering spirit that has begun to take shape. However, Xiao Ze did not intend to deal with Liu Qing, mainly because it was not necessary at this stage. After a while, Xiao Xun'er's body shook slightly. Opening his eyes, a faint golden light flashed through his eyes. When he raised his eyes, he saw Xiao Ze looking at him with a smile. Sure enough, this burning heart can't stop brother Xiao Ze. Xiao Xun'er came closer and said with a charming smile. The girl's light and peaceful smile caught the eyes of the surrounding students. Even Liu Qing, who was staying behind Elder Liu, couldn't help but linger on Xiao Xun'er for a while. It's a pity that Xiao Ze is the only one in Xiao Xun'er's eyes. Arriving next to Xiao Ze, Xun'er stood close to Xiao Ze very naturally. You said, when will the little medical fairy be finished? Sister, little medical fairy? Depending on the situation, it should be within 5 minutes. Hearing this, Xiao Xun'er took a closer look at the little medical fairy's condition and said firmly. When Elder Liu next to him heard Xiao Xun'er's words, he couldn't help but secretly lamented that this girl had such a vicious gaze. Sure enough, in less than 5 minutes, the little medical fairy's body shook slightly and he slowly spit out a mouthful of mist. Seeing Xiao Ze and Xiao Xun'er standing together, they showed a bitter smile. You two are going too fast, aren't you? Xiao Ze shrugged his shoulders. Xiao Xun'er followed suit, and the little medical fairy couldn't help but roll his eyes. She also approached very naturally and stood on Xiao Ze's other side. For a moment, Xiao Ze felt that the eyes nearby began to become unkind, and he felt like there were needles on his back. However, Xiao Ze ignored the unkind glances nearby. After all, whether it is Xun'er or the little medical fairy, every appearance is extremely outstanding. However, after the two of them woke up, they came close to him. Xiao Ze deserved such treatment. After waiting for nearly 10 minutes, Hanyu was able to escape from the burning heart with the help of Elder Liu. You have persisted for 17 minutes. You little girl has adapted well to the Tianfen Qi refining tower. Elder Liu said with a smile. Of course, he did not compare Hanyu and Xiao Ze. After all, you can tell at a glance that these three, something is very wrong. Let's go, let me show you the situation inside the Tianfen Qi refining tower. Seeing that all 4 people had woken up, Elder Liu said to them. The surrounding students also dispersed in a hurry. Liu Qing took a deep look at Xiao Ze and walked to the next floor. I beg all readers to read it. Now I recommend you to read it all. I beg you to use your little hands and pull it to the last page of the book. Thank you. Chapter 79, Dozens of times more efficient in cultivation. Take the pill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There are training rooms of different levels in the tower on the same floor. Generally, a high-level training room will be several times more effective than a low-level training room. But the fire energy spent in different training rooms is the same. Elder Liu took Xiao Ze and his party to visit the first floor of the Qi refining tower and introduced them to the rules of the Qi refining tower. Hearing this, Hanyu couldn't help but said, wouldn't this make the strong stronger and the weak weaker? Haha. Yes, but people can often burst out with amazing motivation and potential in adversity. Every year there are some dark horses in the inner courtyard that buck the trend and grow stronger in the face of adversity. Besides, this is also in line with the training philosophy of the inner academy. The inner academy does not cultivate gentle students, but cultivate strong people who dare to fight. Elder Liu explained and asked Hanyu to nod. Indeed, under the pressure of difficult circumstances, one will either completely become ordinary, or work hard and become a truly strong person. Although you guys are freshmen, your potential is not bad. Let's practice on the first level first and get used to it. If you want to go to the second level, you can think about it yourself. Elder Liu led them to the center of the first floor, where there was a black hole. Xiao Ze glanced at the black hole and saw nothing strange. After all, he didn't harbor any of the wonders of heaven and earth like strange fire. This area is basically full of advanced training rooms. With your strength, it should be easy to seize a suitable training room. Elder Liu said to them. As an elder, he still encouraged students to fight with each other. Thank you, Elder Liu, for clearing up our doubts. Xiao Ze thanked him and found a small training room, which was enough for 4 people to practice. Then choose this place. Xiao Ze took out the green fire energy card and placed it at the door, notifying the people in the training room. Soon, the door of the training room was suddenly opened, and the person who opened the door had a very bad look on his face. After all, being called out of practice is a bit uncomfortable. when he saw Elder Liu, a smile quickly appeared on his face. "Elder Liu, why are you here?" "It's not me, they are looking for you." Elder Liu turned his head and gestured, and then the man saw Xiao Ze. He couldn't help but blink his eyes, recalling Xiao Ze's face in his mind, and said with a sudden expression on his face. "You are Xiao Ze. That monster is new." That the faces of the students behind him also changed. After all, Xiao Ze's record in the inner courtyard is well known to everyone. Seniors, can you please give up this training room so that we don't start a fight and embarrass both parties?" Xiao Ze said politely. Several people looked at each other and gritted their teeth before speaking. "Although you are strong, it is still impossible for us to give up this advanced training room. Let's do it." "All right." After a while, Xiao Ze raised his hands and said to Elder Liu. "Excuse me, Elder Liu." It's easy to say, go in and practice, and have a taste of the advanced practice room." Xiao Ze then closed the door. On the side wall, 4 students were leaning against the wall with bruises and swollen faces. Touching the bruises on his face, he felt very regretful. Why did he provoke him when he had nothing to do? His face is really swollen now. The students who passed by also saw this scene. Seeing the 4 people with bruised noses and swollen faces, I felt a little scared. Elder Liu laughed, shook his head, turned and left. In the training room, Xiao Ze and others could not wait to start practicing. The inner fire in the advanced training room is far more powerful than the inner fire at the door. However, he still did not escape the suppression of the tree of origin within his body. Xiao Ze also discovered a very interesting thing. Originally, ordinary people had to constantly use fighting energy to penetrate the inner fire when practicing cultivation. Until the heart fire is consumed, another one will be regenerated. But Xiao Ze is different. Once the inner fire is drawn into the void space, another inner fire will soon burn in his body, even if the tree of origin is more efficient in tempering. It cannot consume a heart fire immediately. This caused a steady stream of inner fire to be drawn into the void space, one tree root after another hungrily inserted into the inner fire, tempering the fighting spirit. Xiao Ze looked at the void space, dozens of heart fires being penetrated at the same time. The influx and consumption of inner fire finally reached a balance. Once a heart fire is consumed, a new heart fire is immediately replenished. With the help of Xinhua, Xiao Ze easily broke through the 4-star fighting spirit. The original training room on the first floor was forced to turn into a 3, or even 4-story training room for Xiao Ze to achieve the training efficiency. After completing the breakthrough, Xiao Ze did not stop. Anyway, with the suppression of the origin tree, there would be no side effects like fire poison. The 4 of them practiced for a long time, and Hanyu was the first to quit. Hanyu slowly opened her eyes and exhaled a hot breath, looking at the 3 people sitting cross-legged and motionless, as stable as a mountain. I couldn't help but sigh, and murmured in my heart, "What 3 monsters?" It wasn't until a melodious bell rang that the 3 of them opened their eyes one after another, with a hint of surprise flashing in their eyes. It seems that practicing in this tower does have many benefits. Xiao Xun'er felt the powerful fighting spirit in her body and couldn't help but said happily. "With this method, maybe we can get closer to Brother Xiao Ze." "That's what I said, but the Qi refining tower is not without hidden dangers." Hanyu looked at the 3 people nervously and explained. "Long-term practice will accumulate violent energy in the body, which will then form fire poison, making people extremely irritable." Xiao Ze's face was calm. Xun'er doesn't need him to worry, but Xiao Yixian did make him a little worried. He glanced at Xiao Yixian and saw that she looked calm, and it seemed that she was not in any trouble. Indeed, practicing in the Qi refining tower should be moderate. "Let's leave first, the tower will be closed soon." After the 4 returned to the small attic, Xiao Ze looked for Xiao Yixian alone. He was relieved to confirm that she was not affected by the fire poison of the Tianfen Qi refining tower. "Brother Xiao Ze, you are in Xiao Yixian's sister's room." Xun'er's voice sounded from the door. "I came to see if Xiao Yixian was affected by the fire poison." "What's wrong, Xun'er?" Xiao Ze said calmly, and he was open-minded if he had no evil in his heart. "I feel like I'm about to break through to the great fighting master, so." "Oh. That's great. The Vajra indestructible pill should be taken as soon as possible, lest it change if you delay." After all, it's an ancient pill. Xiao Ze stood up in surprise. He flipped his hand and a specially sealed pill appeared in his hand. Xun'er, here you go. The three of them came to Xun'er's room, with the help of the secret method of unsealing learned from the old man in the library. Xiao Xun'er opened the bottle of Vajra indestructible pill. The golden light suddenly shone, rendering the whole room into a golden palace. The terrifying medicinal power spread out. Seeing this, Xiao Xun'er no longer hesitated, opened her red lips slightly, and swallowed the Vajra indestructible pill. In the next room, Han Yu, who was about to fall asleep, suddenly woke up. Looking at the next room with shocking eyes, thoughts in her heart could not stop coming out. This terrifying medicinal power, could it be the 7th grade elixir that Xiao Ze obtained? But why is it in Xun'er's room? Could it be, hiss? Han Yu was frightened by her own guess and was a little unbelievable. Could it be that someone really gave all the 7th grade elixirs to others? Please read this, dear readers. I recommend you to read it in full now. Please move your hands and scroll to the last page of the book. Thank you. Chapter 88 Terrifying physique comparable to that of a Warcraft. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Xun'er's room. Xiao Ze and the little medical fairy looked nervously at Xun'er, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed. As the Vajra elixir entered his stomach, strong golden light emerged from Xun'er's body, rendering her skin a golden hue. Between the mouth and nose breathing, streams of golden mist are exhaled. Soon, the room was filled with this golden mist. After Xiao Ze inhaled the golden mist, he felt as if his body was on fire. This mist seems to strengthen the body, that the little medical fairy said with some surprise. Yes, this golden mist should be the medicinal power released by the Vajra immortal pill. Xiao Ze frowned slightly and looked at Xun'er. It should be that Xun'er's body was unable to absorb the medicinal power for a while, so it overflowed. Is this going to be okay? The little medical fairy asked worriedly after hearing this. Don't worry, I believe Xun'er can handle it. Xiao Ze was originally a little worried, but he was keenly aware that the golden mist exhaled by Xun'er began to become hot. Her pretty eyebrows, which were originally tightly frowned, also relaxed a lot. The air around Xiao Xun'er gradually began to distort, and even the two people in the corner of the room felt waves of heat hitting their faces. It seems that the power in Xun'er's body has come into play. Xiao Ze opened his mouth to comfort the little medical fairy. The little medical fairy's nervous expression also relaxed a little. The three of them get along day and night and understand each other's situation. Even if they didn't say it openly, everyone still had some guesses in their hearts. The two waited for a while, and suddenly felt a familiar wave. Look, I just said it's okay. Now the official breakthrough begins. As Xiao Ze finished speaking, the familiar energy fluctuations of heaven and earth formed in the room. The golden mist that was originally in the room was once again carried into Xun'er's body. The majestic power of the 7th grade elixir, coupled with the energy of heaven and earth, makes it difficult not to achieve a breakthrough. Xiao Ze sighed as he looked at Xun'er's increasingly powerful aura. Indeed, but breaking through to the big realm is not that simple after all, so you should be careful. The little medical fairy said cautiously. That's true. Looking at the trend, it shouldn't be completed in a day or two. You can go and rest first. I'll watch from here. You can replace it during the day. Xiao Ze thought about it for a moment and then said to the little medical fairy, seeing that Xun'er's condition had stabilized. The little medical fairy nodded obediently. Go back to your room to rest and come back to guard tomorrow. Xiao Ze came to the table and chair and sat down, supporting his chin with one hand and looking at Xun'er on the bed without blinking. Under the golden light, the girl's already outstanding appearance became even more divine. The power of the 7th grade elixir. I'm afraid that Xun'er's body is undergoing a transformation like a rebirth at this time. A thought flashed through Xiao Ze's mind, and then he looked at the girl quietly. The next morning, the little medical fairy came to replace Xiao Ze. He had just gone downstairs to have something to eat when Han Yu's door slowly opened. Looking at Xiao Ze's back going downstairs, his eyes were a little complicated. He actually gave Xun'er the extremely precious 7th grade elixir. Han Yu's tone was full of shock. Glancing at Xun'er's door, his eyes were full of envy. If there is a boy who is willing to do this to me, I am afraid that I will be extremely devoted to him, right? Thinking of this, Han Yu couldn't help but smile bitterly. Perhaps it was precisely because Xiao Xun'er's eyes were full of Xiao Ze that Xiao Ze gave her this extremely precious 7th grade elixir. To Xiao Ze's expectation, this breakthrough and transformation lasted for 10 days. 10 days later, Xiao Ze and the little medical fairy stood in the room, looking at Xun'er nervously. At this moment, the golden light outside Xun'er's body has completely subsided. However, Xun'er at this time made the little medical fairy feel like facing a monster, and it's the kind of monster that is extremely powerful among its peers. Xun'er slowly opened her eyes, and a bright light burst out from her eyes. Xiao Ze vaguely seemed to see golden flames rising and burning in Xun'er's eyes. Brother Xiao Ze, that after not seeing each other for a long time, Xun'er couldn't wait to get up and pounce on Xiao Ze, but she didn't even notice that the floor under her feet was already cracked. Looking at Xun'er's rushing figure, Xiao Ze's pupils shrank slightly, but he still opened his arms to welcome Xun'er's flying figure. Pang. Even with Xiao Ze's current physical condition, he couldn't help but hold his breath. He had never felt this kind of impact in a hand-to-hand fight with a third-level monster. Brother Xiao Ze, are you okay? Xiao Xun'er's expression changed slightly. She didn't expect that her body had transformed into such a terrifying transformation. It's okay, but the impact force is probably incomparable to even a third-level monster. Xiao Ze slowly lowered Xun'er's body. It is hard to imagine that this slightly petite body actually contains terrifying power that surpasses third-level monsters. In the next period of time, you have to train for your soaring physique, otherwise you will be in some trouble. Xun'er nodded obediently. Fortunately, the one he pounced on just now was not a little medical fairy, otherwise he would have been in big trouble, therefore special training is also necessary. Go to the deep mountains. There are many monsters there and you can use your power. Okay. The three of them quickly prepared and headed for the deep mountains. Han Yu joined the power created by Xiao Xun'er's tribe the day after she entered the transformation state. He is learning some management matters, which is hard to meet during this period of time. After all, not everyone can be a hands-off boss, and there are so many people who can be trusted. Han Yu is being trained as the next leader, and there are many things to learn. Xiao Ze left a note to inform Han Yu that the three of them will go to the deep mountains to practice. Deep mountain waterfall. Pang. Xiao Xun'er's white and tender palm slapped on the chest of a third-level monster famous for its strength and physique. The third-level monster was slapped and vomited blood and retreated. Xiao Ze and Xiao Yixian, who were standing on the side, looked at this almost one-sided battle and nodded with satisfaction. Xiao Xun'er's talent is indeed extraordinary. This is the second day of practicing in the deep mountains. After dozens of battles with monsters, Xiao Xun'er can now accurately grasp her own strength. The Vajra indestructible pill is worthy of being a 7th grade pill. After Xiao Xun'er dealt with the demon beast, she returned to them. I still have a lot of medicinal power in my body. As my strength increases, these medicinal powers will be gradually absorbed by me, and my physical strength will also surge. Xun'er gently waved her fist, and there were gusts of wind blowing on their faces. It is indeed extraordinary. Just the part of the medicinal power you absorbed has pushed your strength to the level of a 3-star great dosha. Xiao Ze felt the power contained in this fist and nodded in agreement. Next, work hard to improve your strength and see if you can improve your strength to the Douling level before the inner courtyard competition. The top 10 in the inner courtyard competition have the qualification to forge the body with the origin heart flame. As long as you hold on, it will be of great benefit to breaking through the Dou Po. After listening to Xiao Ze's words, Xiao Xun'er and Xiao Yixian said with full fighting spirit. Then the next goal is the inner courtyard competition, right? Brother Xiao Ze. There is still nearly a year left, which should be enough, Xiao Ze. Hearing the confident words of the two girls, Xiao Ze also smiled. Please read this, dear readers. I recommend you to read the whole book now. Please move your hands and scroll to the last page of the book. Thank you.